Buon pomeriggio a tutte e a tutti, io sono Marocchi Pinti della redazione Lingue di Rizzoli Education. Oggi sono in compagnia di Cristina Prandi, a cui do il mio benvenuto.
Benvenuto, grazie Mara.
Buon pomeriggio e oggi scopriremo insieme tutte le potenzialità delle choice boards. Non anticipo nulla, lascio tutto a Cristina, do qualche indicazione generale, diciamo per tutti rispetto anche agli attestati, se volete interagire anche con Cristina, con noi. Avete due modalità per porre le vostre domande durante la diretta, potete scriverle nella chat oppure utilizzare l'app Tua domanda, raggiungibile con il vostro smartphone attraverso il QR code che ogni tanto comparirà in sovraimpressione. Per l'app Tua domanda il codice evento è il 76. L'attestato di partecipazione sarà disponibile nei prossimi giorni sul sito di Rizzoli Education alla pagina attestati. Per chi vedrà questo evento in differita, l'attestato sarà disponibile solo ai partecipanti che avranno effettuato l'accesso dalla mail di conferma di iscrizione entro la mezzanotte di oggi. La registrazione video resterà comunque disponibile sul nostro canale YouTube allo stesso indirizzo al quale lo state vedendo in questo momento. Se desiderate essere informati circa la nostra programmazione, iscrivetevi al nostro canale YouTube premendo il tasto iscriviti che apparirà in basso e poi sulla campanella a fianco. Io non rubo altro tempo a Cristina, fa giusto due parole ecco, sulla professoressa Prandi che in realtà è ben conosciuta e ben nota nel mondo della formazione. Cristina Prandi appunto è docente di lingua e letteratura inglese dal 1993, è stata responsabile della sezione Sabacca, funzione strumentale per la didattica, è teacher trainer in metodologia didattica della lingua inglese per l'USR Piemonte e ha questa innata passione per le nuove tecnologie e la didattica innovativa e quindi questo è uno dei motivi perché è qui con noi oggi. Buon proseguimento e ci vediamo al termine dell'intervento di Cristina.
Thank you, Mara. See you in a while. Now, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to this new webinar of the series of Agency Revolution. As Mara said, we are going to talk about choice boards, that is to say, how we can give our students voice, choice, but also agency in learning. And just to start with, I'd like you to think of a student who is completely disengaged. I'm afraid we have some of them in our classes. And when we see them, when we know they are so disengaged, what do we think, what do you think is the one thing they usually complain about? I would like you to type your answer in the chat, but do not hit enter until I say go, so we can have all the answers together. So the question I would like you to answer in the chat is, think of a student who is completely disengaged. What is the one thing they usually complain about? Now, in a few seconds, 3, 2, 1, go. Start, press enter and give me in the chat your answers. Who do you think, what is the problem with these students? Bored, tired, they are doing useless and boring things. The lesson is boring. They get bored. It's too difficult, might be too difficult for them, the lesson. Or what we are teaching might seem useless for them, or they can be tired, just tired also for their own personal life, or they cannot understand what we are saying, or but as you can see, there are many different possible answers. They more or less all, many of them, bored, uninterested, overwhelmed by emotions that they cannot control, thinking that the lesson is just a repetition of tens of other lessons and so on. If we want to summarize all your answers, we might say that the problem is the traditional one-size-fits-all assignment. And what can the solution be? Obviously, today we're going to talk about choice boards. So the answer is choice boards are a solution to our students' disengagement. Choice boards are a tool that we can comprehend in the Universal Design for Learning, or UDL, and also the self-determination theory. So some of you were talking about emotions. We are going to talk about emotions as well. Now, choice boards are a game changer, and that's the reason why I am here today to talk to you about them. The moment I discovered choice boards, I understood that this was the first time I really had the possibility to move the pedagogical heavy lifting from my shoulders to my students. And so why should you use choice boards? Because using choice boards means integrating multimodality. Multimodality is not multimedia. Multimodality is refers to the ways, the different ways, because they pertain to different channels, by which we absorb the world around us. Our dynamic educational landscape requires fostering comprehensive learning experiences through different channels. So we need to use multimodal literacy. And multimodal literacy is the ability to understand, analyze, create meaning using various modes, including text, images, audio, video, and interactive elements. So these are all the modes that we as human beings, we as teachers, we are exposed to during our everyday life. But also, even more than this, these are all the various modes our students are exposed to. So it is, some of you said, always the same assignments in the chat. It is useless to give them, to give to all the people, to all the students in the class, the same, exactly the same assignment to fulfill. Now, we should integrate multimodality because, as I said before, it encourages active engagement. Why does it enables our student to be more active? Because choice boards and multimodality beyond the choice boards require students to process information through different channels, as I was saying before, but also to create multimodal outputs. And that's the difference between this new way of interpreting our everyday teaching modality and multimodality. Multimodality also caters to diverse learning needs. As there is no one-size-fits-all assignment, so there is no one student, the prototype of just one student. We all have classes that are made of very different individuals, and each individual should be cared for. So you will see that students will be given the possibility to choose the way they want to give us back what they have understood, but choosing to record a podcast instead of writing an essay doesn't mean that they are escaping work. They are engaging with the content as if they were preparing an essay. They are engaging with the content through a medium where they feel competent. And this is very important because, as some of you have pointed out, being interested, being motivated is a very powerful emotional lead. So let's get real for a second. We have all seen those glazed over eyes when we announce that we are going to ask them to write another essay, I don't know, about romantic poets. Why? Because why are they so uninterested? Because we have stripped them of the possibility to be autonomous. So we have stripped away their autonomy. According to the self-determination theory, students need three things to be motivated: a sense of control, a feeling of I can do this, and a connection to the material. And the choice boards hit all three. Some of you might know Krashen's affective filter. His hypothesis posits that emotional factors such as high anxiety, low motivation, low self-confidence act as an affective filter. And this affective filter inhibits language acquisition. When this filter is high, due to stress or fear, the input cannot reach the brain's acquisition center. A low filter, which is allowed by a relaxed and confident state, promotes learning. When a student is forced to do a task they hate or they feel bad at, a mental wall goes up. And if they have the possibility to choose, choice lowers the wall. If a student chooses a creative writing task, you will see this is one of the activities I will explain you in a moment. So if a student chooses a creative writing task, for instance, because they love storytelling, they aren't just learning, they are acquiring language in a low stress mode. Now, I would like to ask you another question. In the chat, give me a thumbs up if you have ever had a student do better in an optional project than on a mandatory test. That is to say, sometimes we give them the possibility to do extra tasks, and sometimes these tasks are not totally mandatory. They can do them or they can avoid doing them. But have you ever noticed that if you propose them something which is not going to be assessed afterwards, they might actually perform better? So if you want to give me a thumbs up, I can see if you are on my page now, because this is exactly what we are going to talk about in a moment. Now, let's move to talk directly about choice boards. What is a choice board? You might already be familiar with the format of the most frequent choice boards, or maybe not. Now, what is a choice board? It is not a random list. It is a curated experience. You we control the rigor, the students control the route they want to follow to get to that objective. A choice board isn't just a do what you want list, but it is scaffolded agency. Now, in the slide, you can see two examples of the most popular choice boards. The one on the left-hand side is in the tic-tac-toe format. The other one is in the format of a learning menu. The tic-tac-toe format requires us, the student, to complete any row horizontally, vertically, or diagonally. In the menu choice board format, or for a choice board, you have a series of tasks given under three courses. We start with the appetizers. We then move to the main course and then to the dessert. Do not worry, because I am going to show these formats more clearly in a moment. Now, you can decide the contents, but you will see these contents will be chosen by the students in a certain way. In the menu format, we have the warm-up in the appetizer section. We have the deep dive in the main course, and then we have the reflection in the dessert, which can also be left as optional. I will tell you more about that. Now, in a moment, we will see an example. Now, do not get confused by the presence of two QR codes. You will find in the materials for this webinar, you will find both the QR code to access the choice board and the link to the page. This choice board is a choice board I made together with other ones as interactive material for the LitHub, for LitHub literature. Now, this choice board is about the Canterbury Tales, and it is, as you can see, in a grid format. And for each activity, there are point values. So this is a point target board. And I tell my students, you need to reach 100 points. These forces, not all, obviously, not all the activities have the same number of points. So this forces them to strategize. Do they do two big 50-point activities, tasks like right away, which is the first activity, or do they mix a 40-point task, medieval matriarchs analysis with several smaller activities like the advertise the tale, which is a 30-point activity? Now, they can choose whatever they want. They have to get, at the end, 100 points. By varying the weight of the activities, you ensure that choice doesn't mean the easy way out, because you have to decide the weight of each activity, and obviously you are not going to allow them to do only the easiest ones. There are not 10 activities of a 10-point value. So they are, you are the architect, but they are the builders in this plan, in this project that we have. Now let's see how this works from the didactic point of view. Now, as I said before, a choice board isn't a get out of jail free card like in Monopoly. Every path the student is going to follow must lead to a learning objective. If they are drawing a comic, they still have to demonstrate understanding of the theme. You will certainly be familiar with Bloom's taxonomy pyramid. This is, in the picture you see the old one, the one we might be more familiar with. Just I chose it just to be more synthetic. Bloom's taxonomy classifies learning objectives according to the different levels of skills they require. So we go from the lower order ones, that is remembering and understanding, to the higher order ones, evaluating and creating. So the secret sauce of a choice board is cognitive balance. If every box is just draw a picture, they aren't learning. If every box is analyze the syntax, they'll burn out. So this is exactly what we are going to explore in a minute. In our example choice board, the medieval chit chat that you see is activity number 3 is a synthesis create task. They have to merge 2 characters voices into a 250 word dialogue, and this is a high level thinking. Meanwhile, the advertise the tale activity, which is activity number 4, is an application task. It is slightly lighter, but still requires understanding of the book's appeal. So now let's have a look together to the board and see how what we said before applies to it. Massimiliano, se mi puoi spostare sulla choice board, te ne sarei grata. Okay, so let's start and analyze how choice boards work. So as I said before, this is a tic-tac, more or less, a tic-tac-toe format. Just to be clear, there are rules, but rules are made to be bent. So I advise you to explore more about choice boards and decide if you want to follow a traditional kind of choice board or if you want to create your own ones. This one is in the format, visually in the format of a tic-tac-toe, but it is a point, as I said before, it has points. It is a point value. So let's start from activity number 1, which I entitled right away. And this gives the students 50 points. It is a creative writing task. And my question is, what story do you think the night will tell? As I was saying before, this is about Canterbury Tales, Chaucer's Canterbury Tales. Usually, in most of literature books, we have the choice, the texts, the extracts we are given usually go around the knight, the prioress, the wife of Bath, and the book I was referring to gives these 3 choices. So, what story do you think the knight will tell and why? Write a 250 to 180 words story with a brief introduction explaining the reasons for your choice. So you see, this is something that requires them not only to know about the figure of the knight. Obviously you can adapt all these activities to your needs. But it requires not only to know about medieval knights, medieval society, courtly love, chivalric literature. It requires high-level thinking, and obviously this means that they get 50 points if they get all the activity done. Now, the second activity is entitled Medieval Matriarchs. And it is slightly, it gives 40 points instead of 50. It is an essay, shorter, because as you can see, it requires to write 180 or 200 words. Compare and contrast the wife of Bath and the prioress. What common features do they share? How do they differ? Find at least 3 common features and 3 contrasting ones, and write an essay explaining your positions. So you see the essay is shorter, but they still need to know about the characters. They need to have understood the depth and the psychology of the characters. Activity number 3, medieval chit-chat. 35 points, slightly less difficult because it is a dialogue, so it has different features from an essay. Imagine that the wife of Bath and the prioress, what they would be talking about during the trip, and write a dialogue, 200, 250 words. In the dialogue, the 2 characters will show their personalities as you got them through Chaucer's words. So it is a way they have to show how they have, what they have understood of the characters. Activity number 4, 30 points. You see, there are different ways for these activities. Create a poster that is interesting and exciting and that will make others want to read the book. Using a web app such Canva, for instance, such as Canva, create a poster with at least 2 images and a 120-150 words text. Again, there is a more visual, the visual part in a poster is greater than the written one, but the choice of the images must be relevant. So again, the students have to show their knowledge of the characters of the story. Now I'm leaving activity number 5 at the end. Activity number 6, which is entitled Not Only a Wife, 25 points. Find 3 different connections between the wife of Bath and the 21st century woman and explain your choices in a 120-150 words text. This might refer to some kind of discussion that you had in class with your students. Now, time to tweet. I prefer to use the word tweet here, although the platform has changed the name into X, because the word, you might know it, the word to tweet was invented by Chaucer. So there is a reason behind this choice of tweet. And activity number 7 is again a shorter activity. Choose a character or the author. Imagine a tweet this person would write about a topical issue of the time. So they can also choose some issues that you have not explored during your lessons, but that come out from what they have read. Make the issue recognizable and the thoughts of the character consistent with their personality. Use no more than 280 characters. There is a limit of characters when you write a tweet. Activity number 8, drawing the tale. 20 points. Choose the features of the extract you particularly like, so they have to decide what extract they want to work on. Draw a picture to illustrate it. And I assure you, you will discover very interesting things when your students choose this activity. Add a short explanation so they don't have this get out of jail free here card, because they still have to write something. The explanation of why you chose this scene and or what it means to you. Lastly, activity number 9, which is a very short one. Create a 5 songs playlist for one of the characters, and for each song, so 5 songs, 5 explanations, explain why you chose it in a brief paragraph. You will see very frequently students will go back to the lyrics of the song and explain you why they chose this to create this particular playlist. Creating playlist is always very popular among students. You can decide you want to give all the activities, you want to design all the activities, or you can decide that you leave a free activity. So your students might also be enabled to show their creativity. And for 25 points, you are free to express yourself and show your knowledge of the poem. Choose whatever form you prefer, visual, written, they can record in audio, they can record a brief podcast, they can do a video, whatever, and make a product that is engaging and adds a new dimension to an old classic. If you choose to use only the visual form, accompany it with a written description of the intentions. You can decide you want to be even more precise than this, and so the written description, write your description in 80, 100 words. But the interesting thing is here that they can express themselves. Then you can add in the info tab, choose any combination of activity, the explanation of how the choice board works. So choose any combination of activities to reach a total of 100 points. You will therefore need to do 3 or 4 activities. It is engaging, but also it's a long task to do. You are free to choose the activities you prefer the most. The criteria for assessment, you can start giving the main criteria for assessment. It has the required features, the language is correct, it shows understanding of the subject, it shows a personal in-depth analysis, it shows creativity, or it is particularly well finished. Now, Massimiliano, possiamo tornare alle nostre slide. Scusate, ma eccoli. E procediamo. Now, also, we can decide that because we are not teaching literature, or because we are in a biennial, or because we are doing some kind of other project, that we want to use our choice boards in the language class. But also in the language class, we want to lower the affective filter we mentioned before. So this is a learning manual for the citizenship project about sustainability that can be used. I used it for once for a first year and then for a second year of high school. As I said before, its format resembles the one of a restaurant menu. And in this case, instead of offering the free activity we were offering in the choice board, the tic-tac-toe choice board before, we can decide to leave an activity free. So they can decide they want to engage it or not. Actually, the funniest low stress activities are in this course, are in the desserts. So the students will be eager to do them, I think. So let's start. It was, as I said, about the sustainable planet. Let's start, as we always do in a restaurant, with the appetizers. Three possibilities, three choices. Answer the interactive questions after watching the video. Read the article and answer the questions. Calculate your carbon footprint with the WWF calculator. Now again, as from this initial choice amongst the three appetizers, you can see that also in the language class, choice boards are a very good differentiation tool. Why so? Because our quiet students who have good listening comprehension skills might pick from the appetizers the answer the interactive questions after watching the video, while others might decide they want to read the article. Maybe they are better at reading, or some others calculating the carbon footprint. Now, let's move to the following. Let's move to the following course, which is the main course. Also, in this case, we give our student choice and voice. So, possibility to choose amongst a survey, create a survey among your classmates using, for instance, Mentimeter or Classroom, Google Forms. Create a poster using Canva. Create an interactive image using Genially. So, as I was saying before, differentiation. Here, the creative students might decide to create a poster. Here, I have been very summarized in my directions, but remember to set clear language production targets, expand a bit this part. And now, here is the dessert. Since it is a free activity, so you might decide that you want the students to pick one activity from each course. But if you decide to leave it an optional activity, you will not assess it afterwards. And this works from a pedagogical point of view, because what are we indirectly saying them? That not everything must be assessed in the classroom. Some things can be done out of pure fun, and this again helps lower the level of anxiety in our students. And if we choose funny, engaging activities, they will be eager to do them. Choice boards allow our students to fail safely. If they choose a task and realize it is too hard, they can pivot, but they are still engaging with the target vocabulary of the unit. Now, you might be teaching in a technical school, or a vocational one, and the choice boards work very well also with what we call microlingua, or the English for special purposes. Here the goal is utility. These choices mimic real-world professional tasks. For instance, the analyst, the student who likes going in depth might decide to choose the critic Shark Tank pitch video. The writer might decide to draft a bad news email to a client. The speaker might prefer recording a 60-second elevator pitch for a fictional product. And apart from the ones that I have just explained, there is a role playing with a client, a discussion of a case study, a business news article summary, the art of negotiation. So many different possibilities, and you can, for each teaching unit, you can decide that you adapt the material, obviously, to your needs. Now, assessment. This is always the trickiest part, or at least it seems the trickiest part. But here is actually where the magic happens for us, teacher, because if it is true that we fear that choice boards might be excessively difficult to assess, because how do I grade a poster, a dialogue, and an essay using the same scale without losing my mind? Here I give you the possibility of reflecting on the use of the single point rubric, or SPR. What is a single point rubric? It is a rubric that, instead of having a grid with many different boxes with satisfactory, good, fair, and so on, here in this rubric, you only define the meeting expectations, what the meeting expectations look like. For instance, character insight. The work clearly reflects the specific traits, voices, and social standing of characters. If they have worked about the knight, or the wife of Bath, or the prioress, as presented in the text. Textual evidence. The product uses specific details or references to the tales to support the creative or analytical choices made. Language proficiency. We are in a language class. We need to assess language proficiency. The writing or the dialogue or the paragraphs meets the word count requirements, for instance, the 250 words in activity 1, and shows accurate use of the target vocabulary and grammar. Last criteria, communication and design, which does not refer only to a poster. For instance, if the final product is a poster, it is well organized, engaging, easy for the client to understand. But also communication and design in an essay. How often do I find myself repeating my students again and again, you have to divide your essay into paragraphs. Please remember paragraphs. Communication and design also has to do with this. So what are the, as you have seen here, what are the pros of this kind of rubric? That in the central column, in the central section, you have the criteria. You only have to write in the left-hand column if the student if the student falls short, so if he needs to work better. And or you have only to write in the right-hand column if they are exceedingly good. So they even soar before, over the expectations. So this kind of rubric is flexible, is really clear, and it is very quick to use. So you only write the comments if they fall short or soar above the standard. You do not need to write anything if they meet the standard, which was the learning goal of the medieval choice board. The main goal of the whole choice board was demonstrate deep understanding of chosen characters and the social themes of the medieval period through creative or analytical expression. So, because we used points, a weighted point system, going from 20, 25 to 50, you can use this kind of rubric as a multiplier or a percentage. So for activity number 1, which was 50 points, creative writing, because this is a high stakes activity, analytical task, if they meet all the criteria in the middle column, they get the 50 points. If they fail short, you take away some points, and you can give extra bonus or a gold star or a bonus feedback if they exceed the expectations. Now you will find in the materials of this webinar also a cheat sheet with sample sentences that you can use to give your feedback in the need to work column or in the exceeds the expectation column. You will find your materials on a Padlet. You'll find the link to the Padlet in the last slide of the materials, and you can use it to get inspiration for your feedback, for just to have an idea actually about how to give a feedback of this kind to your students. Because feedback, especially in choice boards, is more important than grades. Because they have invested in their choice, because they have put so much effort and so much time in their work, they are much more likely to read your feedback, your comments, than they would on a standard essay. I don't know if you ever experienced what I frequently experience. You spend a lot of time, hours and hours, writing feedback, which must be positive and so on and so forth. They just want to see the grade, and then they get their essay back and they throw it in the rucksack, and that's the end of it. So giving a detailed feedback is, in this case, makes you sure that they will read it. Now, this is your turn. I would like you to propose this little task to do, and I hope you will write your answers in the chat. Now, let's go back to 2 activities. For instance, medieval chit chat. Imagine that the wife of Bath and the prioress are talking, what would they be talking about during the trip, and advertise the tale, create a poster that is interesting and exciting and that will make others want to read the book. Now, I give you a minute to think. There is, think of one criteria, just one, not many, but just one criteria that applies both to the dialogue and the poster. Write your answers in the chat. If you want to start, typing, you can start typing now, and then share with everybody your answer. So what is one common criteria that applies to both a dialogue and a poster? So waiting for your answers. And the materials, I don't know if you, I think there are some problems on the line, but you will find the materials on a Padlet, and you will find the link to the Padlet at the end of these slides. So from the moment you can download the slides of this webinar, you will also have the link to the Padlet, where you will find examples, other examples of assessment rubrics. You will also find other materials you can use in order to prepare choice boards. So what do you think is one common criteria to a dialogue and a poster? Don't be shy. And okay, they are both communicative activities. Communicative effectiveness, very good. Communication and design, because both the dialogue and the ad have to be involving and creative, very good. Creativity, yes, also very technical things you can think of, because look at the figures that you find in both activities. For instance, they both have a word count. So using the correct number of words can also be a criteria. More in general, as you said, creativity, we can think of showing a critical knowledge of what they have learned. Vocabulary, the use of vocabulary, character knowledge also, the tone, which is almost always a light tone in the case of Chaucer. Creativity above all. So if you feel more at your ease with another kind, let's say a revisitation of the single point rubric, we can have a look at this one. Now, first of all, recent research on holistic rubrics, and this is an example of an holistic rubric, have shown that students' performances have increased after their use, especially when students contributed to designing the rubric. And designing your rubric together with your students is an activity that I sincerely advise you to do. It is not time, it's not a waste of time, but it is something that it's a powerful moment of metacognition for our students. Now, they can also use this kind of rubric as a self-assessment. So, if you feel more at your ease giving scores instead of the two columns, still needs work or exceeds expectations, you can decide that using the same criteria as before, this is exactly the same rubric, you can use scores. And when for that criteria the student really gets all the elements, you can give 5 points, and then you can decide you diminish the number of points. This can be even better because it enables you to probably to follow a path of mind that we are more used to following. Well, we have come to the end of this webinar. What should you take home from it? So this is our takeaway from this webinar. Number one, first of all, choice is not the same as chaos. This means that you, as I said, you are the architects. A choice board is a scaffolded agency. Remember Bloom's taxonomy. You control the rigor and the learning goal. The students choose the route to go there. Number two, lower the affective filter, raise the output. I mentioned Crescen's affective filter, self-determination theory, and they both point the same way. When students feel competent and in control, acquisition happens, and therefore choice boards help us build that psychological safety by design. Number three, cognitive balance is your secret sauce. Every board should span Bloom's taxonomy from remember tasks, such as timelines, to create tasks like original dialogues. So mix the levels, vary the point weights. This mix will not stop choice from becoming a very important moment in their cognitive development. Number four, one rubric rules them all. Use the single point rubric. If you want, otherwise you can use a rubric you already are familiar with. Feedback beats grades, especially here. So students who have invested in their choice actually read your comments. You will be surprised of this. So a comment reach SPR is worth 10 standard rubrics. The theory behind the practice is, I mentioned before, UDL, self-determination theory, Crescen's affective filter, Bloom's taxonomy, and multimodal literacy. Now, if you have, thank you for joining today. I hope you will go and build something for your students that your students will actually want to finish. And if you have questions, please ask, and I will try and give an answer.
Scusatemi, ecco l'audio è tornato. Grazie mille Cristina e grazie a tutti i partecipanti e ovviamente come ha detto Cristina se avete qualche domanda avete ancora qualche minuto per scriverla. E intanto io Cristina te ne pongo una. Ehm, la prima sarebbe choice boards sound ideal for individual work. But how can they be adapted for collaborative or group tasks where students might have very different preferences and strengths? Quindi un altro punto di
Yes,
vista.
this is a rich area worth exploring because group work is very important. And I think all of us, we are all starting to use it more and more in our daily teaching practice. So one effective approach is the jigsaw choice board. That is to say, each group member selects a different activity from the board, the one they feel more at their ease with, maybe, or maybe something they want, they have chosen because they are looking for a challenge. Then the group must synthesize the outputs into a shared final product. It can be a presentation, can be a debate, can be a multimodal report. This preserves individual agency because each student can choose what they prefer, but also builds collaborative skills, which are the other skills, not only the skills that are connected to the content we want to build in our students. Or another option might be to assign roles within a group. So the teacher gives one student the role of researcher, the other one is the writer, the other one is the designer, the fourth one is the presenter, and lets each student choose the activity that matches their role. So if you are given the role of writer, you will obviously be not obliged, because there are many things you can choose that involve writing, but nonetheless you will need to write something. This is this is a good choice, I think, from the point of view of the teacher, because this enables us, this is a very inclusive way of working. The student with dyslexia might be given a role, the designer, for instance, which does not rely too much on the written word, but on the visual aspect. The researcher, I mean, there are different roles for everybody, and the teacher can also choose to give the student a role which is a bit challenging, so they will not be totally allowed to choose what they want. They will be a part of autonomy in the choice, but they will also be obliged to do something that puts them out of their comfort zone. Because one big fear we all teachers have is that using choice boards means they all go on doing always the same kind of activities. So the one who is good at drawing always draws. The other one who is good at creating playlists lives on playlists. But in this way, we push them gently, we nudge them towards a bit more challenging way of working.
Grazie, direi che le choice board sono davvero un utilissimo strumento, molto flessibile e soprattutto utile per i diversi stili di apprendimento, no? E per diversificare. E ti ringraziano tutti, ti ringrazio di nuovo anch'io.
Grazie a voi, è stato un piacere parlarvi delle choice boards che veramente vedrete, ma secondo me ve ne siete già resi conto mentre stavate seguendo o vi riguarderete il webinar perché ci sono stati anche dei problemini di connessione, quindi magari avete perso delle piccole parti, ho visto che qualcuno aveva dei problemi nella chat. Quando lo rivedrete vedrete quanto è divertente per noi creare le attività, perché anche noi abbiamo bisogno di metterci della creatività nel nostro lavoro e le choice boards sono veramente, veramente divertenti e piacevoli da creare. Grazie Mara e
Grazie.
grazie Rizzoli Education che ci ha dato l'opportunità di parlarne.
Grazie a te, grazie a tutti voi e un buon proseguimento di serata a tutte e a tutti.
Arrivederci alla prossima.
Ciao.